There, nestled against his pulse, by Hewson. Chapter 10. The next morning, Keith and Lance see the rest of the team off, waving from the safety of the Olkari's main tower as the castle rises into the sky. When it's a mere spark in the distance, Lance turns to Keith and says, "You ready for some exciting times on patrol, cruising at the speed of a turtle in boring Gara-free space?" Keith raises an eyebrow. "Whoa there, you sound like you want a fight." "I'm surprised you don't!" Lance retorts, crossing his arms and cocking his hips. "What happened to hot-headed Keith? Raging Keith? Sword-swinging, fire-breathing Keith?" Keith eyes him, taking in the familiar confrontational stance, and feels fondness tickle his throat. He hasn't seen this in a while. He wonders why he ever thought Lance was irritating like this when it's clearly just cute now. "Alright, what is it? You might as well spit it out." Lance holds out for about 5 milliseconds before sagging back against the floor-to-ceiling window. He's almost pouting. "Look, last time I was on patrol duty with Pidge, I was bored 10 minutes after we landed. There's nothing to do around here."
"I helped out with construction on my rotation with Shiro."
Keith glances out the window at the workers milling around.
"I mean, there's not really a lot of work, considering everything is practically tech magic. They were scrambling to find something for me to do last time. But we could do that if you want."
"Keith! My buddy, my man, my partner, my dumb samurai!" Lance steps into Keith's space, clasping his shoulders and turning him so they're facing each other. He leans in until they're nearly nose to nose. Keith's caught between wanting to close the space and Judah flipping Lance to the ground so he can run away. "We are not doing construction work for an entire day while the Olkari do it all in a minute with their hand-waving magic. Absolutely the heck not!"
Alright, yeah, okay, whatever you want."
Keith stutters, feeling hot under his collar. He doesn't know where to look, gaze flicking from Lance's mouth and then jerking up to his eyes and then up to his hairline and back all over again.
How about, I think Reiner said something about a waterfall somewhere down south of here. We could go check We could go check it out.
"A waterfall?" Lance leans back, which is great because Keith can breathe now. "There's one around here." Keith nods, trying to surreptitiously inch his way out of Lance's grip. He's unsuccessful.
"Yeah, it's supposed to be really cool. Pretty. Stunning, whatever. Reiner said it has healing properties, too."
"Huh!" Lance blinks. "Wait, are you saying you're taking me to see a cool magic waterfall? Just like to the two of us?" Keith gives Lance a confused look.
"Yes, unless you want to bring someone else along."
Weirdly enough, this makes Lance let go of him and take 5 hurried steps back. He's wide-eyed and flushed from forehead to collarbone. "You!" He crosses his arms, uncrosses them, and covers his mouth with both hands. Drags them up over his eyes and into his hair, and then back down to cup his cheeks. He blows out a noisy breath. "Keith, buddy, just to clarify..." A loud buzz emits from Keith's helmet where it sits on the bench with the rest of Keith's spacesuit. He puts it on, sparing Lance a glance, who still looks like he's got sunstroke.
"Yeah?"
"Just checking in with you two. It's Shiro. You guys good down there?" Keith rolls his eyes.
"We're fine, Dad."
"Yeah?" A note of teasing slips into Shiro's voice. "And you're patrolling, right? And not still standing in the tower staring into each other's eyes or something?" Blood rushes to Keith's face so fast he wobbles on his feet. Lance lurches forward, grabbing his elbows to steady him. Keith purposefully doesn't meet his concerned frown.
"What?"
he chokes out.
What?
"What did he say? Did something happen to the team?" Lance asks. He's squished his cheek against Keith's helmet as if he could hear better that way. Keith hysterically wonders why he doesn't just put his own on and open his comms. Actually, no, that'd be a bad idea. Keith can't stop him from hearing Shiro talk shit then.
"Nothing. It's nothing."
Keith rushes to assure him. Lance still levels him with a dubious stare. Shiro straight up chortles. I knew it! You guys haven't even gotten into your lions, have you? Is Lance's face really that captivating?
What are you implying?
Keith hisses and he takes a step forward as if Shiro is physically present and punchable. Lance makes an amused noise. Oh, come on, Keith. Do I have to spell that out for you? You know, I still haven't gotten around to talking to you about that time I caught you staring at Lance's midriff. Do you remember that? Good times!
You... Keith lets loose an enraged bestial noise. Shut up, Shiro! Shut up! That did not happen!
Keith! Says Lance with a hand to his mouth and his eyes curved up into amused crescents. What is he saying? You're Keith, why don't you tell him? Keep your teammates informed, remember?
Screw you, Takashi.
Keith growls. Lance decides this is the moment to grab his helmet from the bench and slip it on. A smile plays on his lips. Are you allowed to talk to your brother like that?
Keith shoots him a narrow-eyed look. This devil is not my brother.
I love you too, little bro, says Shiro. Keith hates him. But seriously, get to patrolling, you two. We'll see you guys in 19 hours. Have fun and try not to die or whatever.
Was that supposed to be a pep talk?
Keith asks.
Because it sucked.
Well, tough, it's all you're getting, says Shiro. But kids, Lance makes sure Keith doesn't blow himself up again. Sure thing, Lance says cheerily before Keith can even think of making a retort. There's a click as Shiro turns off his comms. Keith stares at Lance and feels betrayed suddenly.
You...
Don't look at me like that, Lance says, still grinning. I'm just thinking about the future.
The future?
Keith asks, baffled.
What for?
I just have a feeling I should try to sit on Shiro's good graces, Lance says more to himself than Keith. He clears his throat and throws an arm around Keith's shoulders. Let's sit up, and then you can tell me about this waterfall while we take a space cruise. In the end, they don't end up talking much about the waterfall because Keith's arm rash builds from an intermittent annoyance to a full-blown attack on all his nerve endings within 10 minutes into patrol. It takes him by surprise and he cries out, curling protectively over his arm. A crackle overcomes. Keith, you alright?
I'm fine.
Keith grits out. He cradles his elbow awkwardly, trying not to disturb the rash further.
The rash is acting up. It's pretty bad. I can't move my arm.
Crap! We should head back! If it's that bad, we should ask Reiner if we can use the pods!
No, it's fine.
Keith, you just said you literally can't move your arm!
It's fine. Give me a minute, Lance.
The comms go silent. Lance's disapproval practically radiates from it. Keith exhales noisily through his nose, eyes scrunching shut. He opens them and straightens in his chair with minimal flinching.
Look, we're almost done anyway. Let's finish up first.
And then you'll go see Reiner?
And then I'll go see Reiner.
He agrees. A sigh, and then Lance says, Okay. They complete their patrol, though Keith's focus shatters every time his left arm has to do anything, meaning that Red wobbles in the sky more than he flies. The rash only gets exponentially worse in the last 5 minutes of their shift, setting Keith's nerves on fire from his bicep to his wrist. It gets to the point where he has serious thoughts about amputating his arm with his sword. When he comes out of his lion at the end of it, he's pale as bone and shaking. He's not sure how he's going to complete their afternoon patrol like this. Lance takes one look at him and scowls. God damn it, Keith! What did I tell you? He wraps an arm around Keith's waist, slinging Keith's rash-free arm over his shoulders, and starts marching them towards the main tower. Keith's too weak to do anything but lean heavily on Lance and let himself be dragged. How bad is it?
I want to cut my arm off.
Keith grunts. Lance starts walking faster. I'm starting to think this rash is not just a rash, he mutters. Seriously, how long has it been? 6, 7 months? Since you fell into the mud on Janook? It should have healed by now.
Hey, can we pause for a second just long enough to scrape some skin off?
Oh my god, Red, no! Lance sounds inordinately horrified at Keith's logical suggestion. Maybe I should carry you. Do you want me to carry you? The blood rushes back into Keith's face. No, that's okay. I can walk. I'm fine. Lance stops, looks him dead in the eye, and gives him the most unimpressed face Keith's ever seen. And Keith has seen every variation a sleep-deprived Shiro can offer. You're really going to say that right now? Really? To my actual face! Like you're not just going to fall over if I let go of you! Keith opens his mouth, closes it. He turns away in embarrassment and finds himself blinking at the sight of two old Kari girls at the other side of the street. They're huddled together and giggling, sending knowing glances at him and Lance. Keith? Lance follows his gaze. The girls wave at him like they know him, and he nods back. They gesture to Keith and Lance, arms wrapping around each other. They send Lance a pointed look. Lance goes still. When Keith turns back to him, there's a soft pink on his cheeks, and he won't meet Keith's eyes. Ah, thinks Keith with a wry twist to his lips.
I can find Reiner on my own if you want,
Keith offers. Lance jolts out of his girl-induced trance to frown at him. What?
I can't really show you the waterfall like this.
Keith jerks his chin at his twitching arm.
But maybe you could ask those, girls to show you around. The tower's a couple blocks away. I can make it by myself.
His gaze flicks back and forth between Lance and the girls meaningfully. Comprehension dawns in Lance's eyes, but to Keith's confusion, doesn't take him up on the offer. In fact, he looks offended. No, wait! Knowing you get distracted by something sharp and shiny, and I find you hold up in a weapons shop 5 hours later, and your arm would probably be sawed off.
Just because that happened once.
And besides, Lance continues, and a note of conviction enters his voice, I'd rather make sure you do fine than chat up some girls. Plus, you promised you'd take me. I'm holding you to that. Keith's eyes widen, and he leans back to check Lance over for life-threatening, potentially mind-scrambling injuries. When he finds nothing, it only makes him more worried, and his rash problem is punted to the back of his head.
Are you feeling okay? Maybe we should get Reiner to give you a checkup too.
He brushes Lance's forehead with a hand. Lance goes red, which is concerning, but he bats Keith's hand away. Come on, it's not that weird of me! Keith levels him with an incredulous look.
The first few months out here, you would have shut up about girls. Especially your one and only Miss Blue Lion. You wanted to find her so badly. You're telling me that's changed?
Lance shrugs. Yeah, well, I'm not too concerned about it anymore.
Not too concerned?
Keith repeats. That doesn't compute for him. The only reason he could think of that would explain Neverboy Lance giving up on flirting is if he...
Oh,
he says, stomach dropping to his feet.
So you found her, then?
Lance shakes his head, and it's so lame how relieved that makes Keith feel. It shouldn't be a relief. He should want Lance to find happiness. No, I just decided I have other things to focus on.
Other things?
Yep, other things. Lance doesn't elaborate. Keith's still kind of confused.
Are you giving up on her?
Not really. Why the interest, Red? He teases.
I'm still half convinced you're sick. Have you eaten anything weird recently? What are your symptoms besides a personality change?
You're being ridiculous, Lance says. I'm not coming down with a disease just because I'd rather be with you and your diseased arm than fruitlessly searching the masses for my soulmate. You're more important. Keith flushes again, way too pleased and startled by that to say anything. His heart is going to combust. And I don't think I need to go looking out for her anyway. Lance quietly adds after a beat.
What do you mean?
Lance adjusts his hold on Keith's waist, chewing on his bottom lip. Back at the garrison, I tried to talk to you once. Do you remember?
No.
Are you sure?
Why are you bringing this up all of a sudden?
Keith asks, slowly. Just try. Try to remember. Lance has this look in his eyes like he knows something Keith doesn't. Keith shakes his head.
Lance, I don't...
You've got to remember you looked Right at me!
No,
Keith searches Lance's face quickly, growing alarmed.
Look, that night we rescued Shira was the first time I met you.
No! No, Keith, no! Lance almost sounds like he's begging. We met before! You looked at me! You saw me, okay? And you heard me! I know! I saw you flinch, okay? And I thought you just hated me or something, but I've been thinking ever since you told me about your mark, and
Just spit it out, Lance. Stop stalling.
My first words to you, says Lance. It was at the garrison, and I said... Sirens, loud and grating, they shattered the calm of the street. Keith jerks right hand clamping over his ear. It does little to muffle the shrill whining. Within seconds, the Olkari have flooded the streets. Voices rise in alarm as all around them holograms flash into being, displaying only one thing. Evacuation level 3. If Keith remembers correctly, that means the threat is to the immediate city, and residents are to escape into the forests and find a bunker. He shares a look with Lance, who nods. They spin around and run back to their lines amid the rush of citizens, all heading the same way, to the edge of the city. Keith runs with his left arm held stiffly against his side, gritting his teeth when it sparks with pain every other step he takes. The alarms cut off abruptly, their purpose to alert served. To have it going on indeterminably would hamper communications and create unnecessary panic. Sure enough, the Olkari visibly regain their composure and order even as their pace picks up. The only noise they make are from their shoes hitting the ground and the breaths they take. The city is eerily silent otherwise. Keith's helmet display flickers and Reiner appears bearing a severe frown. We'll be in our lines in a tick, Lance assures her. How many ships are there? That's the problem. There are none, she says, and I'm not sure if the lines would help or hinder you with this problem. Keith slows, coming to a stop in the middle of the road. Lance does the same. The crowd of Olkari pass by them, and recognition dawns in their faces. Some of them reach out and clap Keith or Lance on the shoulders as they run by.
No ships. What's the situation then?
Keith asks. Reiner taps something on a screen. A roe-beast has infiltrated the city. A roe-beast? Lance repeats sharply. That shouldn't be possible. We just finished our patrol like 7 dog washes ago. It can't have slipped by us and landed without us noticing. Not to mention the new planet-wide security measures. Correct. It didn't come from space. It was here the entire time.
Something explodes in the distance. Lance swears. That came from the second quarter.
Keith breaks into a run, Lance following close behind.
Reiner, what do you mean it was here the whole time?
It was hidden on the far side of this continent under a high-security base, armed with concealment tech far more advanced than the kind that the main Galmer forces were using when they occupied this city, she says. We scouted the base many movements ago and found records of a highly experimental project. The Galmer General Station there was apparently trying to recreate the process Hagar used for her roe-beasts. We scoured the place for any remaining specimens, but found none. Her mouth twists. Evidently, we didn't look hard enough. Great, says Lance. An experimental roe-beast! As if Hagars were bad enough, now we have to deal with amateurs?
How did it break out? Did it act on its own, or did someone activate it?
Keith asks as they sprint around a corner. Smoke rises in the distance. We have drones surveying the area now, but judging by the surveillance footage, it appears to have activated itself, impossible as it sounds. There are no other signs of life in the vicinity, and our systems haven't detected flight patterns to or from the base.
And why can't our lions help? Keith asks. We could just blast it and...
Collateral, Lance reminds him. Reiner adds, and the footage shows it to be on the small size, about twice your size.
Keith sighs. Lions would be overkill. Right.
Wait, twice our size? Lance frowns. Roe-beasts are usually... bigger! An uneasy expression crosses Reiner's face. This one might not sound very impressive, but from what we've observed, we believe its intelligence is greater than that of its predecessors. It doesn't simply react, but seems capable of serious forethought, of predicting the movements of its enemies. As if it retains an intelligent mind of its own, possibly left over from before its experimentation.
Keith shares a look with Lance. That doesn't sound good.
We believe that it set the base to explode a Varga after its actual escape. Reiner continues. which was only moments after your return from patrol. We haven't been able to track it since its escape, which is highly concerning considering the level of security we've implemented. The only surveillance footage it appeared on lasted only 3 ticks. It was almost intentional, as if it wanted us to know where it was. She pauses. It smiled.
Keith sucks in a sharp breath. It smiled?
They turn down a block to the start of the second quarter, and the sight that greets them is unnerving. The city is completely undamaged. As far as Keith can see, not a single window is broken, and the buildings are all intact. The streets are empty, free of civilians or any casualties you'd expect from a row beast running rampant. No rubble, no collapsed structures, no sign that there even is an enemy. Something is wrong. The hairs on Keith's neck rise, and wordlessly he turns with Lance until they're back to back.
There was an explosion,
Lance says, barely more than a whisper. It still echoes.
Why does nothing look exploded?
Keith glances up at the sky. The smoke is gone. Reiner swipes a hand over her holoscreen and she pins them with a worried look. Paladins, have caution. The Robies had time that it used to most likely implement a plan. I've contacted the castle. The princess says they haven't gone far, but a problem has cropped up, so they'll be here within 15 dobashes or half of Varga at the latest. However, the Olkari are already taking up arms and will be able to assist in...
No,
says Keith.
No, we all know what a Robies is designed for, what its goal always is. We're not getting your people caught in the crossfire. Tell them to stay in the bunkers. Lance and I will handle this.
Lance nods.
What he said! We're heading in now, Reiner. Let us know when the castle lands over comms, or if you've located the beast.
Reiner looks conflicted but nods. Understood. Keith inhales, centering himself, and hears Lance do the same. The sound of their bayards activating fills the silent streets. With their steps in sync, they advance forward, watching each other's backs. There's not a soul to be seen, but Keith can't shake the feeling that there are eyes on him.
Arm?
Lance murmurs.
Fine.
Keith doesn't have to turn to see scowl Lance is probably wearing. He isn't lying, though. The arm really is fine. He's almost gotten used to the burning sensation and the ache. Besides, the adrenaline coursing through his veins dulls the worst of it. If he doesn't focus on it, he's positive he can last in a fight long enough to do serious damage. Lance taps him on the shoulder, pointing to an overturned garbage disposal in front of a large building. Quietly, they slink over to a communication terminal on the opposite street and hunker down behind it. Lance switches Bayard forms, putting his eye to the scope of his sniper rifle.
Just don't take unnecessary risks,
says Lance.
I'll be fine. Who do you think you're talking to?
Keith peers around the terminal into the windows of the building. The lights are off.
That's exactly what I'm worried about,
Lance mutters, eye to the scope of his sniper rifle. He stills.
Something just moved. 3rd floor.
Robies?
No!
Lance lowers his Bayard. It goes back to its rifle form. He stares into the building.
No, it's a kid!
Oh, what? What the hell is a kid still doing here?
I don't know. They should have heard the alarms.
Keith stands, moving out from behind the terminal. We need to get them out. Watch my 6. I'm going in. Lance grabs his arm.
Wait, this doesn't seem right. I don't think we should go running in there.
Keith cocks his head, a wordless question.
There shouldn't be a kid here,
says Lance low.
There shouldn't, because Olkari kids are dumb. Isn't it kind of suspicious that we find one in the same area as the roe beast?
You think it's a trap?
Maybe. I'm just saying, we need to be careful. Maybe it really is just a kid. Seemed too real to be a costume anyway.
Lance squints at the building.
Oh, my eyes could be deceiving me, he adds with a grin.
Keith returns the smile.
I trust your eyes, they're the best we have. But you're right, we shouldn't be hasty.
Lance sighs.
You gotta stop doing that!
Doing what?
It's nothing, I'll take point!
Be my guest. Wordlessly, they open a comms channel between the two of them. Lance does one more sweep of the windows and then quickly crosses the street, with Keith a pace behind. The interior of the building is sparse, furnished with a dozen chairs and a large reception area in the left corner. If Keith had to guess, he'd say this is one of the newly built administration buildings. Nothing is out of place, and it takes them 3 seconds to clear the room. There's a hallway extending to the right of the reception, with some stairs leading up to the next floor. They ascend, treading carefully. The second floor greets them with a long hallway lined with numerous open doors. Offices, most likely. "You take left, I'll take right." Lance's voice comes through the comms faint. Keith nods and begins his search. There are 9 offices of varying sizes, holding from 1 to 4 desks. Chairs are pushed back haphazardly, and holoscreens still project data to an absent audience. Keith searches all 9 rooms in minutes. They're completely devoid of any Olkari children. Lance shakes his head when Keith turns to him. No luck there either. There are stairs on this side of the hallway too, and they take it up to the next floor. Number 3 is in the same state as the previous. The only difference is the one closed door on the left, 3 rooms down. That's gotta be the one. Keith nudges Lance, jerks his chin at it. Lance nods. They make their way to the door, checking the other rooms on the way, just in case. Silently, they flank the office. "Hello?" Lance calls out. "Is anyone in there? We're the red and blue paladins of Voltron. We're here to help. Can you open up? Kid? Are you there?" They wait, but only silence answers them. Keith raises his sword and nods to Lance, who takes a hand off his rifle to tap the keypad lock. The screen flickers once before fizzling out completely. The door gives a click. Lance frowns, taps the screen a couple more times. It remains dark and unresponsive. He steps back and motions for Keith to do the same. Raising his rifle, he aims for the lock and is about to pull the trigger when Keith's arm flashes out and pushes the barrel of gun down. "Don't shoot." "What's wrong?" Lance whispers.
"It's already open."
Keith slides a hand into the seam of the doorway, wedging his fingers into the space where he noticed air hissing through, and pulls. The door slides open soundlessly. Turns out there is a child. They're lying on their side, legs and hands are bound together, a rag in their mouth, their eyes closed. There's a nasty bruise on the side of their temple that brings a scowl to Keith's face. He hurries forward, dropping into a crouch and reaching for the child's arm. His fingers slip under cloth and fumble for a pulse. He lets out a breath when he finds it beating steadily. "Are they okay?" Lance asks.
"A little bruised up, but they'll be fine."
Keith switches his sword for his smaller Marmora blade.
"Give me 10 seconds, I'll have them free soon."
Lance grunts in acknowledgement, and Keith glances up to find that he's turned away, gaze locked on the open door. Wary. Keith turns back to the ropes and tries not to feel like he's sitting in the mouth of a monster just waiting to bite down. The bindings give way to his knife easily enough, and within seconds the kid is tumbling into Keith's arms. His left arm throbs and he wobbles under the weight. Olkari kids are heavy, apparently.
"Hey, I don't think I could carry them with my arm like this. Switch with me?"
Keith asks.
"It's probably better for me to take point from here. I can make a better distraction while you run."
"If we run into that thing," says Lance as he turns, "I fully expect you to run with me, you idiot! Keith, drop them!" Keith does, throwing himself to the side, mind lagging behind. He thinks, okay, so Lance has way too much power over me? And then he whirls around just in time to witness Lance as he pulls the trigger and shoots the kid in the chest. It's a point-blank hit. They go flying, smashing into the desk behind them. Unbidden, a memory comes to mind. A droid, felled by Lance's deadly marksmanship, sprawled on the ground with a hole ripped into its chest, circuits sparking and oil spreading out beneath it. Keith stares sightlessly at the small, thin leg extending out of broken pile.
"Lance,"
he says. "Trap!" is all Lance says. Before Keith can reconcile that with the image of Lance killing a child, a gurgling snarl rises from the mess of desks and limbs. The Olkari child stands. It's so wrong! They stand like they've forgotten how to. Their head is still slumped to one side, legs bent inwards, arms held out oddly, and their eyes are still closed. And their arm, where there once was a thin green Olkari limb, is now a monstrous scaly appendage, fingers tipped with razor-sharp claws. As Keith watches, one eyelid peels open to reveal a gaping eye socket. Keith staggers to his feet, revolted. That's not an Olkari. That's not a child. The thing steps forward. Lance shoots it in the chest again. And again. And again! It shudders under the assault, but none of the shots send it flying like the first. In fact, it's almost like with every blast it gets acclimatized to the hits. It keeps advancing forward one lumbering step at a time. As Keith watches, its form warps and twists, jerking like a marionette on strings. Unconsciously, Keith takes a step back. He shakes his head, forcing the horror to retreat. His sword materializes into his hands, and he grips it tight. Lance blasts the robeast one more time, and the image of an Olkari child disperses like water rippling outward. The thing hunches over, contorting and groaning as its limbs grind and snap together. In a single second, it's grown outward. Grown up. It straightens, head and shoulders pressing against the ceiling. Its arm and legs are the length of Keith's entire body, all ending in those claws, which are almost as terrifying as the mouth full of gleaming teeth. There's a large round mechanism attached to the center of its chest, glowing an ugly, sickly yellow. "We can fight that in here," Lance says, faint. "I thought Reiner said it was only twice our height."
"Shapeshifter," Keith breathes, like a Laura.
Lance blanches. "Please tell me that's not an Altean in there!" The robeast throws its head back, smashing it straight through the floor above. The room shakes, bits of ceiling raining down on them, long cracks spiderwebbing their way along the walls. The beast shrieks shrill and deafening, its long throat vibrating with the force of it. Keith and Lance share a look, and as one, turn and fucking bolt! Behind them, the robeast screams again. There's a thundering crash, and under their feet, the floor quakes. They stumble. Lance trips, and Keith has to grab him by the elbow and yank him up.
"Window. We need a fast exit. Here!"
Keith pants, shoving them in the direction of an open office. "Hurry!" I'm going! They go hurtling through the door just as there's another crash. Closer this time. Without further ado, they throw themselves out the window, smashing it to pieces. For a long second, they're suspended in midair, the glass shimmering and bouncing light off its sharp edges. For a heartbeat that lasts longer than it should, Lance locks eyes with Keith. And then their jetpacks engage, thrusters pushing them up and away from the ground. They land on the roof of the opposite building, turning just in time to see the robeast burst out through the same exit, smashing the already broken window and leaving a gaping hole in the third floor. The thing hits the ground with a slam and rolls to its feet. Keith eyes the beast's chest thing. It's gotten brighter. "Ideas on how to kill it?" Lance asks. Keith shrugs.
"Hack away at it until it falls."
"It's covered in impenetrable scales. I shot it like 1,000 times, and it's still standing."
"Get to our lions,"
Keith half-heartedly suggests. There's no way they can outrun this thing. Lance blows air out of his nose noisily. "Looks like we're just gonna have to hold it off until the team arrives. Reiner, come in!" "Paladins!" Reiner sounds stressed. Keith wonders if she can see through the surveillance drones scattered around. "Are you alright?"
"We won't be soon," Keith says grimly. "ETA on the rest of the team."
18 toboshas? Can you delay for that long?" "We'll try," Lance replies. "Thanks, Reiner. Tell the team to skip the scenic route, will you?" A weak laugh. "Will do, Paladins. Good luck." The comms turn off with a click. Below, the robeast roars again. "Should we go with the usual?" Lance asks, staring narrow-eyed at their enemy. Keith rolls his shoulders, wincing when his rash flares up.
"Ready when you are. We should avoid that thing in its chest, by the way."
"Yeah, I noticed how it's glowing like it's about to blow!" Lance snorts. "You tell me the moment your arm goes dead again, okay?"
"Sure."
"Keith!"
"I said yes, didn't I? I'll tell you, promise."
"We'll be too busy trying to survive for it to matter anyway," Keith thinks. Lance glances at him like he knows what Keith's thinking, which wouldn't be outside the realm of possibility. They're scarily in tune with each other these days. "All right," says Lance, fingers sliding onto the trigger. "Call it!"